It's dark, it's gloomy, but the zebra are back, and this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning everybody and welcome to another sunrise safari, and I suspect we will have a sunrise today. My name is Taylor and on camera with me today is Craig, aka Batman. And as you just saw a moment ago, which is very much exciting, there are some zebra that have decided to make their return to the property. However, it's still a little bit too dark and they're quite nervous of the car as we move around here. So what I thought we would do is we should just let them be. Let's wait another 20-25 minutes or so, just until the light lightens up, and then it'll mean that we'll be able to view those zebra when they are most comfortable during the day. But if you have just joined us, of course, welcome again, and this is a live and interactive safari. Myself and Tristan are driving today, and Byron will be joining us on Bushwalk. And if you'd like to ask us any questions, anything along those lines, it's very easy. You can do so, send us pictures, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. But I think what we should do, let's leave these zebra. We're driving on Vuyatela access at the moment, and as you heard with Tristan, he had some lion tracks, some male lion tracks. We had those same tracks coming down Vuyatela access. I don't see them anymore, however. So whichever Birmingham boy I suspect it to be has done, well, quite a fair amount of walking last night, which was also no surprise. They're quite spectacular with the amount of sort of kilometers or miles they can clock up in one evening on a single territorial patrol. Though I didn't hear any calling last night, so maybe it wasn't a patrol. Maybe he was just scent marking. But every other night I've heard the Birminghams come through camp. They don't do it quietly. They let out a bellowing roar. And, well, literally shudders the window panes, which is a nice way to wake up. I've never been upset when a lion has woken me up before. But here's an animal on the road. You actually saw it with Tristan already too. And there it went. That was a little scrub hare that was sitting on the road. Can you believe it? First time in history ever, a scrub hare on its own at about 50 yards away moved off of the road without us having to almost drive over the top of it. Well, we're going to keep on searching, and hopefully it'll get lighter. We'll see a beautiful sunrise and maybe a lion or two. But let's go across to Tristan so he can officially say good morning.
Well, good morning everybody, and welcome to our sunrise safari from myself, Tristan, and VM on camera this morning. Now, we're right down in the south of the reserve, and we're looking for any signs of the royal family, but we got a little bit sidetracked because we picked up tracks for a big male lion walking down into this area. I have unfortunately lost the tracks for now because it seems to have cut off in a different direction, so I'm just doing a loop around and getting onto our southern boundary so I can just make sure that he hasn't crossed out before I start trying to actively follow them. But it is exciting to start the day with tracks for lions. It always makes me get a little bit more excited and hopeful for what the morning is going to hold. Now, it is very, very chilly this morning. It's a lot colder than it has been. It seems like winter is setting in, and we're starting to get those mornings where it feels like your fingers are going to get all stiff. So it is starting, but it will be a very pleasant day, I think, once the sun does come up, because it looks like it's going to be a very clear day. So I would imagine it'll be nice and warm once that sun does get up. We're just going to have to wait for it to get up. Now, just checking, just to make 100% sure that, like I say, the royal family haven't come in. Now, there is a track here. I just want to get my spotlight working because my spotlight's got a loose connection this morning that I need to attend to later. But those tracks are just for, by the looks of it, hyenas, so I'm not going to worry about those, and they're not very fresh either. It's the nice thing about the mornings, and why I love being out in the mornings, is that the roads have all been driven during the night, and now it's nice and clear. So it makes it much easier for tracking, because you know where you drove the night before, and you know that if there's no tracks that were there the night before, that animal has moved during the night over that area. And then it's decoding the mysteries of these animals moving around. Now, we're talking about lions and lion tracks. Aaron, you're wondering, does the cold affect the lions' or hunting? No, not really. The lions are quite used to the cold. You'll find that what will happen though is that their coat will go under a slight change. So their coat will start to get a little bit thicker, and they'll end up getting much sort of thicker coat hairs that will develop, and that will keep them a little bit warmer. Now, if you're a male lion, you are much better off in the winter months, because you have that big, beautiful mane. But it won't affect their hunting at all. They'll still be moving around. They'll still do the exact same things they would have done in summer. They, in fact, will actually be more energetic in the winter months through the daylight period than they are in the summer months. So in summer, you find as soon as that sun is getting up, it starts to get hot. The lions start to prepare and look for somewhere to shelter and to sort of find some shade that they won't get beaten by the sun during the day. Whereas in the winter, that sun, while it is warm, the nights are cold, and so sometimes you'll find that the lions actually look for the sun in the morning and try and find some sort of sunny patch where they can just lie and warm up a little bit. And then they actually are quite active during those morning times as well. Now, just making sure as well that the royals haven't crossed in here. This is the areas that they like to use. They like to come from the south and onto this road and then over into Djuma. So I've checked the one route that they come in. Now I'm going towards Weaver's Nest. Now Weaver's Nest is another road that Kudu likes to use, and if not Weaver's Nest, then Twin Dams is the other one that she likes to come in on. So we're going to check on all of those. I know that there was some of you letting us know that there was a leopard rasping at the dam at about 4:30. So I wonder who that is. We'll definitely go and investigate should we have no tracks here. And it's great that you guys are letting us know. So if you did see anything else on the dam cam, or you heard anything, you can let us know on #SafariLive at Twitter, which is always quite nice as well. It's also good to hear all your questions that you may have. So please feel free to send as many questions as you can. We'd love to answer as many as possible. Here we go. Now I think I found our lion tracks. I just want to see now quickly. Sorry, it is quite difficult in this light to actually make out what I've got here. No, those are just hyena tracks. If I turn, you'll see that it's quite sort of a big track, and that's what made me think it was a lion track, but it's actually a hyena track. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of light so you get a bit of contrast. But there we go. You can see it's in soft sand, so it's made it much, much larger than what it actually is. So it looks a little bit more lion-like, but it's actually a hyena. So that's not a track that we need to worry about. Now also, that track was formed probably early last night because it's been driven over by a lot of vehicles. So that would have been early last night. Right, we're going to keep searching, and while we do, let's go over to Taylor and see where she is and whether she's had any luck finding some tracks.
We're not, sadly, we haven't picked up any more tracks, so we're just bumbling about. We are heading back down Sandy Patch at the moment. I'm going to put the spotlight away now, because we're going to go and have a look at that zebra herd. Hopefully they're still around and they haven't gone running off somewhere. They were very spooked this morning, so I wonder if they had bumped heads perhaps with that male lion that was walking down the road, because I didn't see any of their tracks. So very confused as to where they'd actually come from. Now, Dr. Rob, you're wondering if I ever discovered the fate of the zebra that was injured by the lions. No, sadly, I have absolutely no idea where that zebra has gone. It could be a part of the herd that we very briefly saw, but I haven't had a good look at it just yet. I'm just checking. I think this is where Mvula was walking last night. I'm just seeing a couple of faint leopard tracks, but big male tracks, and I think this is actually exactly where Mvula went, if I'm not mistaken, out on Sandy Patch. and then into Buffalo's Hook last night with Tristan. So we'll check the herd of zebra. We'll have a little look around. The only thing, it's almost impossible to try and find an animal like that. Say if it did succumb to its injuries, it could have just gone down into a drainage line, laid flat, and well, gone to sleep and not woken up, and the bush is so thick at the moment you wouldn't even know that anything had happened. The other thing is that it could have also reunited with the herd, and perhaps they are so... Hi bunny. It's not a bunny, of course, it's a scrub hare on the road that is now getting ready to go. Oh, there's two! They're multiplying right before your eyes. Can you believe that? This is really nice, actually. Let's see the interaction that's going to happen here. They now look like they're staring each other down, moving their noses, smelling, listening. You see that? Look at those ears. That's absolutely incredible. Now we see impala and kudu using their ears all the time and moving them around. But when you've got long vertical ears like that, it's actually quite cool. Life is very tough for a scrub hare. You can imagine, especially one that's sitting out in the middle of the road like that. It's actually quite exposed, but that's where they seem to hang around most of their time, just feeding on the grass just on the side of the road, and off they go running again. Oh, there's three! Look at that! There's three now. They are, literally, they go in. It's like, what are they, pulling a rabbit out of the hat, literally, as they go into the grass. Ha 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 ha. There's the other one. So I'm not sure what's going on here. It could be a male, or two males and a female. It could be mom and juveniles. It could be a number of different things. But they've got the most beautiful coats as well. Look at that lovely mottled brown. Sort of brown with a bit of white and black. And that is fantastic for camouflage. And I can tell you right now, it's very, very difficult to spot a scrub hare, especially even during the day when you're walking around, because they're one of the birds that give you... That's not a bird, Taylor. That is a mammal. It's going to be a great start, as you can see. Them and the button quails at the moment, and also the spur... sorry. Excuse me. And the spur fowls and the franklins and all those things hiding in the long grass during the day are almost impossible to spot. But once they run away when you get too close, they give you an absolute heart attack as they burst out of the grasses. That was nice though, to see three scrub hares. Very cool. It's not very often that you see more than two. Maybe if we sat there for longer, they would have pulled a few more out of the grass for us, and we could have had a whole group of them. Right, let's see what else is happening here. So you haven't got any more tracks of those zebras, so they haven't come up this way, which is a good thing, so that at least I know that they're sort of moving back towards Impala Plains side. Hopefully they're out in the open. And then we'll be able to see them. It's still a bit dark though. I think I can turn those lights off now. Just keep the front lights on. Now, like I said, hopefully we're not too far from WildEarthTV access now, so we should start to see the zebra. And Christian, you were actually wondering this morning, seeing as though it's quite chilly and we've all got our big coats on, if the zebras get a fluffy coat in winter. They most certainly do. All the animals out here get summer and winter coats. Some is more prevalent than others, but very much you'll notice. And if any of you have ever had horses, you'll know what a nightmare it is when a horse gets their winter coat. Actually, no, when they lose their winter coat is the worst, because you stand there and you groom and groom and groom and groom for hours and hours with your curry comb. And then you think, cool, right, it's time to bring out the body brush to wipe away the hairs. Joke's on you. Still need to curry comb some more. The zebra have moved off. That's a bit naughty. Let's go down if we're to access again. But it's very important, Kristen, that they do get winter coats. It helps keep them nice and warm, of course. And I think out in the bush, obviously these animals don't have blankets and are put into stables or anything like that. So their coats must be a lot heavier than the animals that we've domesticated, particularly if they're going in at night into a stable or a barn or something. You see it with dogs as well. It depends if your dogs sleep outside or if your dogs sleep inside. We have quite a few big dogs. We lived on a small holding, which was like a 4-hectare property. So, just under 10 acres of land. And the big dogs, well, they used to come inside all the time during the day, but at night they slept outside. They were also guard dogs. And then the little dogs, well, just one little dog, Pepper, my Jack Russell, who's now old and senile, she sleeps inside. And I always noticed that Pepper, she didn't get as thick of a coat because she was covered in jerseys. And the big German shepherds, the Irish wolfhounds, and the Anatolian shepherds were a nightmare to constantly keep grooming. Hello, good morning, elephants. That's a very nice way to say good day to me, by shaking your head and flapping your ears. I don't know, what were you expecting? A cup of coffee to go? Don't know, that's what the elephant looked like, as if I had messed up its order or something. Very disappointed in me. Just having a scratch behind the ear though. Now there's not too many elephants here. I can just see 2 for the moment. And you can obviously see on the screen that it is quite dark. This is Mom, and Mom has an offspring. Maybe there's 2 offspring. I see another tree moving around. Yes, there is. There's a tiny little baby moving through the grass. Oh, hello, little one. It's okay. Well, there we go. I'm sorry, madam. I would have brought you a cup of coffee if I'd known you'd been up all night trying to look after your darling little calf. That is a very young elephant, and that explains her behavior, is that she could be slightly stressed. Now, we're not close to her, and we're going to continue to give her room. You can see she is slightly agitated. I mean, that calf is probably only less than a month old, I would say. It was teeny tiny, sticking right at Mom's feet, not venturing away too far. And still look almost pink behind the ears, but I think it's definitely at least 2 or 3 weeks old. There you go, look, it's investigating with its trunk now, as it stands behind Mom. And I know it's hiding away. I don't want to move the car around too much. Craig, have you seen this? The multiplying elephants that we've got. We've had multiplying scrub hares this morning. We've gone from what I thought was 2 elephants to now 4 elephants. There the others are, just up there. And what we will try and do is, once Mom moves off of the road, it's actually quite open, and these little ones also cross the road, then we will try and reposition. But for the moment, I think we'll just unnecessarily upset Mom. Oh, look, there's little siblings going over to say hello. Hello, big brother, or big sister, I can't see what you are, it's too dark. Hello. Look at them, of various ages. That is adorable. So you've probably got a few weeks, maybe a month, to about 4 or 5 years, and then the oldest child is most likely just under about 10 years old, and then Mom, well, she could be any age. Okay, Craig, let's try a reposition. So I'm not necessarily going to go closer to her. What I am going to do is maybe just pull my nose off of the road slightly, this side, away from her, just so that we get another gap. Again, we are so lucky we've got these long zooms on the cameras, which does allow us to get great... You see, she's even reacting to us as I do this, keeping her little one close at her side. But that's fine, at least we can see them now. No need to sneak up on Mom Elephant. Here's a little one. Very curious, that little calf, and obviously quite excited to have brother and sister hanging around. And I think we actually could have a lovely sighting here. These young elephants at this age are just so adorable. Now, Joshua, you're wondering, what is the biggest elephant I have ever seen? Joshua, you know what, I've been so lucky. I've actually seen some really big tuskers, some big elephant bulls, but not here in the Sabi South. I've seen a couple, but I think the biggest elephant I've ever seen was in Kruger, and he was an absolute mammoth of an elephant. He was really big. His tusks almost touched the ground. They were quite nice. I wonder if he didn't have the Magnificent 7 gene. Possibly. There are a couple of tuskers left, and they're starting to see more and more of them popping up in the wilderness sections in Kruger, so areas where there aren't any roads, which is nice. So, you know, the big elephants, they're around, but they're just growing at the moment, and that's fine. And the one that I saw, he was old. He must have been in his 50s. He was right towards the end of his lifespan. Like I said, his tusks, or his ivory, almost touched the ground, which was quite spectacular. Craig, can we have a look at that tiny little one just to the left again? It's just coming out into the open. Here it is. Just go. There we go. Here's the little one. Just watch it. It's just so funny. It's desperately trying to figure out what to do. Can we have a closer look? Ah, now it's going to disappear. So if you... Okay, we'll wait for it. Let me go forward again. Just want to try and obviously get a better view. We'll take a close look at this elephant because I can't tell. I'd love to be able to tell you how old it is, but we just need to watch carefully and watch its movements, watch how it uses its trunk. It is tiny. It looks thin almost. Here's the little one. Oh, you can use your trunk. Oh, look at its eyes. You are beautiful. Zaz, now you're wondering, where do elephants have their babies? So, Zaz, what happens, I've actually seen an elephant giving birth to a stillborn, which was a very, very sad sighting. And she actually was just off the side of the road. So I'm sure they're going to labor like we as humans do. And that's probably not an easy process. It must take quite some time. And I reckon anywhere really, wherever it happens, I don't think it would be out in the open, because you can imagine an elephant will be very much vulnerable out in the open giving birth, not necessarily because of its size, but because once that little elephant calf has dropped to the ground, there is all the afterbirth that's hanging about. That is going to attract birds of prey, that is going to attract hyena, leopard, lion, anything like that. Whereas if you give birth in the bush where it's a bit thicker, you do have a little bit of cover. So I think that elephants would, and I've only ever seen it once, and I don't know too many people that have seen countless elephant births, is that they generally will stay with the herd. They don't always leave. But you never know. Look at this, for example, here. We've just got Mom with her 4 offspring. She's not with anybody, unless she's at the back of a herd or perhaps in the front of a bigger family group. I'm not too sure. No, I can hear some more elephants, so maybe there is a rest of the herd, yeah. But yeah, they're good. With the one that I saw, that all the elephants were around. The whole entire herd was there. See if we can get another view. Like I said, I don't want to push Mom. She's not happy. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to send you across to Tristan. He's going towards Cheetah Plains, so I'm sure before he loses signal, he'd love to tell you his plans.
Towards Cheetah Plains. Oh, there's a European roller there. See it, Liam? Hello, little European roller. Good morning. How are you this morning? Very well. You see, it's even talking to us this morning. It's saying hello. Now, these European rollers, I'm surprised he's actually not as fluffed up this morning, because it is very chilly. Although now that we become stationary, it's not so bad at all. It's fairly pleasant. But it looks like this little bird is waking up. He's kind of opening his beak a little bit and just getting started for the morning. And I wonder when we're going to see the last of the European rollers here for the summer, because their numbers are not what they were. About 2-3 weeks ago, you would be able to drive and see a European roller maybe every 400-500 meters, whereas now I actually haven't noticed too much in the last 2 days. And this little cold snap that we've had is definitely going to be driving a number of the migratory birds away. And in the background, you can hear the monotonous larks calling. They've been around extensively the last few weeks and still giving out their monotonous tone. It is a very, very pretty call, but they do not ever shut up. They just keep going all through the night, early hours of the morning, late afternoon. So they do call quite a bit. Isn't that a beautiful bird? Now, as the name suggests, as I was discussing, they are going to go up into Europe and migrate away from South Africa, so they'll start heading northwards. And the reason why is because this cold weather that we have, effectively it slows down the amount of insects that are out. So you'll find that very few insects are able to sort of survive in this cold weather, and so we get a vast reduction in the number of insects that's available. Now, this bird is a insect eater, and so for them there's just not enough to sustain the population of them that arrive. So they then start to head north to follow the warmer weather, and head up into the northern hemisphere, where it's going to be warmer and there's also going to be rain, and it's going to be far better to be able to survive. Now, also with these European rollers is that they actually don't breed in South Africa, so they just kind of come out here and make use of our summer conditions, and then they fly back to the north and they will actually breed in the northern hemisphere. So that's where they're going to be off to, and that's why they're very quiet in the summer months. Jim, number 24 on your bird list. Well, it's a good bird to have on your bird list, and one that we're not going to be having around for too much longer, so glad that we managed to add it this morning. Now, I'm not sure if you've got the monotonous lark. I can show you the monotonous lark, but I'm going to have to go forward ever so slightly because he's sitting on top of the tree. Oh no, now it flew away. Arbid, you're wondering when the monotonous lark is going to leave. Well, I'm not 100% sure actually. They are one of those birds that tends to follow rain around. So because we've had rainy conditions fairly sort of spread out evenly over the last month, that's why they're still here. I would imagine if it starts to get very cold, the rain disappears and everything starts to dry, then they're going to start moving off. So maybe in the next month, I would say, 2 to 4 weeks would be my guess, depending though if we get rain. If we start to get another bout of rain, then I would imagine that they'll just stick around for a little bit longer. But we'll see. It's an interesting one because last year we obviously didn't have them at all. I didn't hear them calling at all last year. So they weren't here because of the dryness. And so let's see how it goes. Maybe if we keep getting rain late into the sort of autumn, then we might end up with them staying a little bit longer than we first thought, which will be good. Now, I'm not far at all from Cheetah Cut Line. James, what migratory bird would I like to see before it leaves? Don't know actually, that's a good one. I'm not quite sure which one I would like to see now before it leaves. Maybe woodland kingfisher one last time. It is that signature migratory species that we see, and it really does brighten up our days, and they've very few of them around at the moment, so maybe one more of them. Carmine bee-eater as well. It's a big call. I know that one was seen the other day, so maybe one of them, and then maybe great spotted cuckoo would also be a nice one. So there's quite a few actually, but I think the woodland is just synonymous with the migratory birds, and for me it's what makes sort of migratory birds, makes summer for us in South Africa. So one more of them before they go would be quite nice. Now we're going to carry on and we're going to see if we can find anything. The male line that we were tracking went south, unfortunately, into Little Gowrie, so we're not going to be able to follow those any further. But let's go and see if Taylor's had any luck with her leopard tracks that she thought she saw a little bit earlier.
No, I actually left them completely, Tristan. I think it was Mvula's tracks from last night. They didn't look particularly fresh. There was quite a bit of dust that had been kicked up, so I suspect that's from the vehicles that were going up and down over there. We've left our elephants that we saw earlier, and the reason why we left them is we bumped into another elephant cow, and she did exactly the same thing to me. She looked at me, she shook her head. She was not very happy at all, secreting from the temporal glands, and so was that other cow. She was also slightly secreting from the temporal glands. So I just think that there was no need to carry on with that sighting. They were unhappy. Maybe they settled down a little bit later. So we left them alone, and hopefully they have a better day. And next time they're happier with the cars being around. So we can only do our part, and that's the most important thing. Oh. Look at those. Nope. There's one there. Go, Craig, go. Here it is. Making all the noise is an arrow-marked babbler, and they're off. There were quite a few of them actually there. They are very much gregarious, and I love the way that they shout all the time. That rah, rah, rah. I can't do that noise, and I'm not even going to try and do it, even though I just tried to do it now. We won't continue with that. And it's just amazing how some birds, seen as though you were talking about birds with Tristan, is the way that they sort of communicate is really quite fascinating. And a lot of the time you find when birds call like that, Egyptian geese, babblers, it's sort of letting each other know exactly whereabouts they are, and that is called allelo-mimetic behavior. Hardy-daws do it. Hardy-daws are fantastic as they're flying, giving their call so that they don't get lost. Geese are actually phenomenal ones, especially when they are traveling in large flocks. Perhaps when they migrate, they're constantly chattering to each other. If there's any change in plans, maybe they're stopping over for the night somewhere, who knows, but that's what they're all shouting about, is letting each other know all of those things. Sorry, Megan, may I have that question again, please? Now, James, you're wondering, what bird would I like to see before it leaves? I think I'm going to go with Tristan on this one and agree with him and say I'd like to see the carmine bee-eaters one last time. Now, there's only one real place we ever really see the carmine bee-eaters, and that's on Cheetah Plains. So, who knows? Maybe Tristan has an opportunity down on those big open plains today, which will be nice. But here we don't see the big groups of carmine bee-eaters. So as soon as you go further north and north outside of South Africa, so you're going to Botswana, you're going to Zambia, where there's massive river systems and huge, I suppose, scars in the rivers on the sides of the banks, you'll see many. I think the most I've ever seen together was a couple of thousand carmine bee-eaters, and it really, really is quite something to see them in large groups like that. But yeah, it's interesting why they don't flock like they do down here. It's the same thing even with the little bee-eaters. I don't think I ever saw less than about between 5 and 10 little bee-eaters sitting on branches cuddling together, but here we don't really see that. You see 2 or 3 together, if you're lucky maybe 4 or 5, but that's an exceptional sighting for down here in South Africa. So the birding is good here, but there's definitely other spots other than this sort of greater Kruger area is wonderful. But if you want to see quantities of game, it's wonderful. Now you might see the camera bouncing around a bit. We were on Triple M, as I'm sure most of you may have realized. It is a very, very bumpy road with all of the corrugations, but it's necessary that we drive these roads in order to check the boundaries to see if there are any animals coming in or out. So we'll keep searching. Another thing that I found fascinating was the large sort of groups of stalks, of abdom stalks though. Let's stop right here. Oh, hang on. I'm going to get a picture of an abdom stalk for you, but there's some kudu that have just popped out of the bushes in front of us. Let me do this very quickly. 2 females. What is she looking at on the ground? You see how cautious the one on the right is being. She's seen something. We'll go up and investigate in a moment. Let me get this picture for you of the stalk. We used to see large groups of abdom stalks, lots of marabou stalks, like you have absolutely no idea, covering open areas, which is quite cool. So I miss sort of seeing that. Where is stalk? There is the stalk. Right, abdom, no, those are penguins. Right, let me show you over here. We get a nice picture. Here we go. Have a look at the abdom stalk. That's what it looks like. Not particularly large, like, for instance, the marabou stalk, much smaller than that. Let me show you another picture. There's a close-up. The beautiful pale blue patch of skin on their faces is very much one of the only ways you can identify them, because when they're flying in the sky, when you see the massive vortexes, not of vultures, but of marabou stalks, of abdom stalks, of black stalks, it's quite difficult to tell the difference. Let's see if they've... here we go, have a look at their wings. You see, very much the same sort of pattern, but very, very dark outer wings, or black colouring on the feathers. But lovely birds, not particularly big. So that was quite cool. We do get them here occasionally. I've yet to see an abdom stalk in this area, but it's definitely a possibility. But I did see them a lot in Zambia. All right, let's go up ahead. Now, Bree, you're wondering if there are migratory birds that come in for the winter. For our winter, or leaving their winter to come here for our summer. Help? Megan? I'm confused now. I can't... Okay, so coming to us, we don't really see many that come for our winter. Not that any that I can think off of the top of my head. I'm just quickly having a look here to see what was turning the kudu's heads. I don't actually see anything. Maybe it was a tortoise or something moving through the grass. Who knows? And no, so Brie, I don't think we get anything that comes particularly for our winter. But there's obviously lots of, oh wow, look to the left. I'm too scared to move. Don't run. Please don't run, Kudu. Look how beautiful he is. Brie, I'll get back to your question. We'll chat about it now. This is a phenomenal example of a kudu bull. And he is just starting to fill out. Now look at that. So they always go a little bit thin during the winter months. Well, actually quite thin in the case of the drought that we had. But he's starting to fill out, put muscle on his shoulder. His neck is stunning. His beautiful spiraled horns. And he's not afraid of us. Which means that he's sort of quite ignorant towards us this morning. His focus and his attention is on the females that we just saw. I suspect that's where he's off to. Short and sweet, as the sightings are normally with the kudu. It was quite nice, don't you think? I know, it was lovely. Thank you, big boy. And he didn't run, which was amazing. So I hope you grabbed some screenshots. And I think you have to share something like that. That's an exceptional sighting. So hashtag Safari Live with some good pictures that you've got of that beautiful kudu. It's actually, I'm going to change my mind. I want to have a look at the sunrise. Let's go on to Impala Plains. And so Bree, just to get back, so there's many birds that obviously come here for our summer. For instance, look at the woodland kingfisher and the carmine beaches, for example. They come down to South Africa in our summers just because it's a little bit cooler than the summers further up north, closer to the equator. So they're all going to start going back now for their winter, which is lovely and cool. There's no need for them to hang around here. And also those areas, for instance, Zambia would have just had rain. They would have been closed now from November. Most of the parks closed because it gets very, very wet and saturated out there, and you can't actually drive anywhere unless you just want to do a boating safari. And the lodges will start to open now in April, at the beginning of April. But have a look at that. That is such a beautiful scene. Soraya, now you're wondering when we are going to have a secretary bird sighting. That is a very good question. I have no idea. When I suppose they decide to show themselves. Maybe we've just been missing them in the long grass now. Secretary birds are very tall, so we do see them walking about the long grass, but they love areas like this. So for instance, Impala Plains is a fantastic spot for potentially seeing secretary birds. And then of course Cheetah Plains is another spot. Who's hiding in the grass over there? Is that a log? I think I've just seen a log. It looks like it could be a warthog though. Shall I show you what I might be embarrassed now. Can you see in between you see what I'm looking at, Craig? In between the two little trees. What is that? Logosaurus. Now that just, actually as we look at this, how incredible is that? This is the type of things that you start to spot in the long grass. Now you can see why I could say that it could have been a warthog, it could have been a kudu or something sitting down in the grass, and that's what you're looking for with a lion or a leopard laying in the long grass. So something small like that, maybe a tip of an ear. And I feel as though at this time of the year, especially now with the grass getting this very slight yellow tinge to it, it's not bright green anymore, is that the lines will blend in even better than something brown like that. You can actually see that sort of stands out, that plain dark color with no spots, no stripes, no markings, nothing like that, is actually quite amazing. Right, let's go. Let's see what else we can find here. Right, bumbling, lots of pipits flying up from the grassland, landing back down in the grass, which is no good for us. I haven't driven down here in a while. Let's see if we're going to get lucky, if this road is going to give us something special. I think we're just going to enjoy the peace and quiet for a little bit as we drive around. Sometimes it's nice. I enjoy it. Isn't this wonderful? I like just being quiet sometimes. Oh my God, Megan is now panicking that I can't hear her because I'm sitting quiet. Do you see when I go quiet in camp, everybody thinks that the world is going to collapse and something is wrong. That was actually really funny because I was trying to tell you guys the other day about how when I go quiet, people panic, and literally that is exactly what's just happened now. No, Megan, I can hear you. I'm just enjoying the peace and quiet this morning. It's very nice to be out here, and I'm going to show you the sunrise, which is spectacular. Hang on, Craig. Wait, let's go up a bit further. I'm racing. I'm Ferrari safaring to get the perfect sunrise. Oh my goodness, we should have done Zoe's road. We could still do it, Craig. The perfect sunrise road, that is. Right, let me quickly go around. Now, I know I'm being silly and I am driving. There. Oh, it's so high already. But look how nice that is. Yes, hello, sun. It's been very, very, very long since we last saw you. Isn't that beautiful? Lovely orange with a slight pink tinge to it as well. Now it's just very orange, but it is quite lovely. It's amazing what you see on screen versus sometimes what you see in real life. You know what I always find is I find sometimes that cameras and things like that really just don't do certain things out in the bush justice. Now, if you're sitting back at home and you're thinking that this is a spectacular sunset, you'll need to start saving. You've got to start saving for an African trip, because I promise you, sitting here with the sounds, the smells, in real life is unbelievable. And have a listen. Let's have another look at the sunrise, because the birds have actually just started to wake up now, and I think we should listen to the dawn chorus. Isn't that lovely? I think it's quite beautiful. The sounds of the bush this morning, from the hurricane button quails to the turtle doves to the monotonous larks, who we're going to miss very much. And already you can hear, like Tristan said, he would like to see a woodland kingfisher one last time. We're missing them. They were definitely an iconic sound first thing in the morning and just as the sun sets in the evening too. And I do miss them already. Can you believe that? From every second tree there was at one point a woodland kingfisher sitting in it, opening its wings, shouting about, that's again. Hang on, we're going to do silhouetted shot of a turtle dove. Are you ready? With the sun behind it. Can you see it there, Craig? Look at that. Is going to be spectacular. Don't fly away now, turtle dove. Oh, it actually could be a laughing dove. Yes, it's a laughing dove. Have a little listen. Isn't that lovely? That is, look at that shot. All those beautiful rays coming through. Oh, wow. That is really, really nice. Right, let's continue. I don't know where Tristan is. Oh, that's a tree. No, those are hyena tracks. Right, okay, we're going to keep searching for all sorts of things here. It seems as though Byron has decided to brush his teeth and wash his face. Let's go and say hello to the Bushwalk team.
Good morning, everyone. What a beautiful sunrise. My name is Byron. and on camera with me this morning is Dave. And we've just got out of camp and we're walking around and excited for our bushwalk again this morning. We'll see what we can find. I thought I heard some alarm calls a little bit earlier. There were baboons barking and it sounded like a bushbuck perhaps. So I'm not sure. We're going to have a look around and see if we get any tracks. But what an amazingly beautiful sunrise this morning. Really, really is spectacular. And there's a lovely tree, that apple leaf in the way there, lovely silhouette. I know Tristan and Taylor have been out for a while already in search of animals. The other thing I would like to see is perhaps some elephant. I'd love to view some elephant on foot this morning. That would be really great. So we're going to take a walk. We've just come out onto quarantine, scanning the area to see if we can find anything. I just saw a little bird party. Let me just have a look quickly. You know what it is? It's a whole bunch of starlings. Now, a bit tricky to see, but just in that bush across from us, there's a whole group of starlings in there. They look like Birchall starlings. They're a little bit bigger. Yeah, those appear to be Birchall starlings. You might be able to get a little bit of that iridescence, that beautiful iridescence that you see on the starlings when the light hits them. So that is always nice to see. I can hear a woodpecker knocking, the bearded woodpecker doing its territorial call, that knocking sound, and obviously the monotonous larks. So there's a lot of bird activity this morning. It's really, really a beautiful morning. It was a bit cooler this morning, I think, because of the weather that we had yesterday. That front that came through, I think it's brought with it some cooler weather, which is great, although the clear skies today, or at the moment, might indicate that it's probably going to get a bit warmer. Now, I don't have a stick with me this morning. I couldn't find the stick that James usually uses, and it's strange. I enjoy walking with the stick, so I don't know what's happened to the stick, but I'll have to try find another one perhaps while we are walking. Just trying to have a look if we can find any interesting tracks. I'm walking on the road at the moment because it's a lot easier to find any tracks or fresh tracks along these areas, especially with the long grass at the moment. It is very tricky to find any tracks or signs of animals walking through. However, I actually noticed something back here. Let me just see. Where was it? There was a little pathway. Now, there we go. If you have a look through the long grass, you might be able to see, and there's a whole bunch of impala running. There they go, through the clearing. Ah, lovely. Nice herd of impala coming out onto the clearing. Now, what I've noticed is, if you just have a look, there's a bit of a pathway leading through this long grass. So if animals have walked through this area, it does make it a little bit easier to see a pathway that they've created, especially large animals like buffalo or elephant. With this long grass and the dew and the moisture on the grass on these early mornings, you are able to see the path quite clearly and then hopefully track them from there. I'm going to have a look around and see what other animals we can find or signs of other animals. Let's head over to Tristan and get an update from him.
Well, we're all the way on Cheetah Plains, and it is a spectacular sunrise that has come up over this area. Look at that, isn't that very pretty? So driving into the sun, it's been very pleasant. Now, unfortunately, we had a very, very, very close shave in being able to find Tundi. She crossed north just in front of us into Torchwood with her cub Tumba, so we unfortunately didn't get to see them. We were about 1 second too late, and then she went north, unfortunately. But that's the way it goes. It sometimes goes that way. So we're going to go just check Cheetah Plains and see if there's anything else around. Maybe Quarantine in Kanyeni, which are the leopards that hang around this area, and maybe even the 2 Cheetah Brothers. So that's why we're out this way. So, Michael, I didn't catch your full question. You just heard, when was it last seen on Djuma? So I'm having a few comms issues this morning. I can't hear Megan very nicely at all. So I'm not sure, Michael, what your question was, but I'll try to get it through and be able to then tell you what's going on. Well, that's interesting. We have a lion track here. Look here, Vim. Let me go back and so I can try and show everybody this lovely lion track. So there we go. There's the tracks for a male lion on the road. You can see it's going in the direction that we're going, which is great news. So maybe at the end of all of this, we will be able to find it on Cheetah Plains somewhere. That will be nice if it's on the plains areas. So I think we should keep following that. Although it looks like it turns down this road, VM. You see, it doesn't carry on very much. So I wonder. Now I know I can hear Megan is trying to call me, but I can't hear her at all. So we're going to try and see if I can get into a different spot where we get a bit better radio reception. But his tracks carry on going, so let's see where he goes. We're right on the border of Nkoro and Cheetah Plains, and so he could have gone towards Nkoro and lay down that area. But let's see, maybe we get lucky and he carries on and goes towards, like I say, Cheetah Plains open, and we'll see if he potentially is lying up, which would be really, really nice if he is. Now these Birmingham boys just walk everywhere. They seem to traverse huge amounts of tracts of land during the night, and then they just lie down. They just go to sleep, and it seems like every time you find them, they sleep. But prior to that, they're absolutely on the move and walking as much as possible. Now, I don't see his tracks anymore. I think he's maybe gone onto Nkoro side, but let's just keep. We might get lucky. Making sure he hasn't gone down towards 3 in a row pan, but it doesn't look like he has, so I'm going to keep just going on the boundary for now. So now I'm hearing Megan again, a bit broken up, but I am hearing her. So Michael, you're asking about the royal family and when they were last seen on Djuma. Well, Michael, they were probably last seen, I would say 2 weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer. I'm not sure the exact date, but it's been a long time now. This is one of the longest periods that they haven't around. So, and they'll pop up one of these days, but it's also one of these situations where we've had very bad weather over the last few weeks, which means that at the end of the day she's probably taking advantage of that and made a number of kills south of the boundary, and that's why the cubs in her come that way. Right, so we're going to go into bad signal and we're having a few issues with our comms, so we're going to try to get that right, and while we do that, let's go across to Taylor and see what she's up to this morning.
Well, we're just bumbling at the moment, really. We checked a little bit more of Triple M, but no tracks just yet. We've just come past onto Shibamu. We went past the pans, and now we're going to. Also, I just heard a bird made a strange noise. And then we are going to go to Treehouse Dam and see if there's anything that side. Now, I actually just bumped into Roy, who's an Arathusa guide, and we had a very quick chat about when Karula was last seen. So I was the last person to see Karula. I had her off Leadwood the one evening when we started doing the Canon tests with all the infrared and the nighttime filming and that type of thing. It was on one of those nights, the second night that we did it, and no, a lie, that spoke absolute nonsense. It was the third night, the second last night that we did it, and Hosanna was close by too, and she was off. She was looking, she was trying to hunt scrub hare, and then she lost interest and she moved on. So I don't actually know where she's gone, but they said that she's not, they've checked, they haven't seen her on Little Gowrie, and there's always female leopard tracks popping up every now and then, but it's almost, I think it's impossible unless that animal has got a specific injury. Oh no, why do I feel like I've got a flat tire? I need to be checking. Let me quickly check. Nope, earpiece, come out. There we go. No. I have a mic pack that goes underneath my hat that is now pulling my head back because it fell out. I have to just quickly do some readjustments here. I'm having a wardrobe malfunction at the moment, as you can see. Nope, this is very awkward. There we go, not pulling my head back. Didn't think I could bend like that, so let me just quickly get adjusted. And this is another thing when we're out driving around in the bush, is that you just never quite know what is going to happen to your cars, your tires. We're good. We're actually good. I don't know what was bumping around like that. Maybe it's just a stick or something that's got caught underneath the car. Nothing to panic about, actually. Right, let's try this again. So I'm not sure where Karula is, and I'm hoping she's just going to pop up somewhere. I think she really has just gone for a long holiday. She needed a break from the kids. Maybe life got too stressful for her. She was sick of Hosanna eating all her meals. Instead of only catching one impala and it lasting 2 days, he finishes it that night, type of thing. That leopard has got a ferocious appetite. But she's been doing so well with constantly catching meals for her little ones. And I think that's why Hosanna is growing so big, is that because every second day he has a fully grown impala to feast upon. And that's quite nice. Who knows, maybe this morning is going to be the morning that she makes her return. Maybe we'll find her weaving her way through some of this lovely golden lit grass that we have at the moment. Now, Justine, you've said that you miss the royal family. I think we all do at the moment. You know, you really don't realize how important and how sort of special particular characters are, because that's what we have out here. Yes, they're animals, but they are very important characters to the Safari Live story that we put out and the show that we put out. And so from going to seeing them every single day, we did for I don't even know how long, but there was a long period where every single day those leopards were out and about, either at Twin Dams, and then at one point we had some spectacular sightings off Ingwe Alley Road, the secret road, which was quite nice. And then they just started moving further and further south. But that's it. They just go where the animals go. And it's not that there's necessarily a shortage of impala around here, but just moving into another area, and they'll come back here eventually. It's like those zebra, which we'll try to find again a little bit later. Is that 1 minute they're here, they get chased away, of course, by the lions. They have an altercation with them. Let's have a quick look at this dam, though. Look how beautiful it is. Very still. Couple of... Oh, wow, very exciting. It seems as though, well, Cheetah Plains is living up to its name. Let's go to Tristan so he can show you what he's got.
Right, guys, so we don't have any comms, which is going to make things difficult, but look who we've bumped into, the two Cheetah Brothers. Now, we're right on the boundary of Nkoro and Cheetah Plains, and so they are going north out of our area, which seems to be the story of the morning. But it's so exciting to see the two of them, and they are looking absolutely great, and I'm so glad that they are together. I haven't seen them together, so to see them now is really, really something. And aren't they the most beautiful animals in this morning light? Really is quite something. You can see, look at those long flattened tails. Absolutely beautiful. And this is their general sort of pattern and where they like to walk. They like to come from Cheetah Plains and they come up this way, then they head towards Nkoro, and they normally kind of lie down at Nkoro at the pans itself. So this is their kind of general territorial route that they go. And I'm sure from here they're going to go up into Torchwood, and then they generally go around to Kruger and then back down again. But are they not the most beautiful animals? Now hopefully they'll lie down somewhere on this road. I don't think that they're going to, but it would be nice if they did. Now, I need to just quickly update the other guides so that they know what's going on. Yes, any station in the east copies me. There's 2 male cheetah mobile north towards Karkle open. There we go. Look, the one has stopped just to look around. But they are really moving quite quickly this morning. I would imagine that they are actually on the hunt, so they're looking for any signs of any prey that could possibly be out here. And this is always a good place to come and check. This area often houses wildebeest and impalas, so I'm glad that we caught them here in this area. Now, it would have been nice had there been one of those animals around, because they definitely would have hunted. Now, just hold on 2 seconds. Go ahead. They're just mobile north on Karkle. I'm going to be losing visual at the moment. Mobile straight north towards Nkoro. Okay, copy. You won't miss them. They're just mobile north on the road. Right, so I'm going to try and pull forward so we just can keep visual of them a little bit longer. It's unfortunately the way it goes sometimes. Sorry, VM. Let me just get round. Maybe I'll be able to keep visual of them for a little bit longer now. There you go. So you can see they're just going straight up the road and away from us. Now, so Tracy, you're wondering if they have names? No, these 2 Cheetah Brothers don't have names. We don't really see them enough. Well, we weren't seeing them enough to name them. They're one of those sightings that kind of just came in and out, and wasn't very, very sort of long periods of time that they spent here, so no one's named them. But now in the last sort of, I would say probably 2 months, they really have been here an excessive amount. So we've seen a lot more of them in the last 2 months, and so they haven't been named, but maybe it's time to name them. At the end of the day, like I say, they just don't spend that much time here, and that's why the rangers haven't given them any real names. It's also the thing with cheetah is that they tend to spend a lot of time off this sort of property, and their lifespans tend to be a little bit shorter, so we haven't really invested too much time into naming them and keeping sort of progress on them. But I suppose it is time. These 2 males do spend a lot of time with us, so maybe at the next rangers meeting we'll bring it up and see if anybody's got an opinion as to if they should be given a name, just at least for the coalition, maybe not individuals, but the coalition is called a certain name. The thing is that there's only these 2 Cheetah Brothers, so if you say that you've got 2 male cheetah, everybody knows who you're talking about. So it's not like it's different sort of storylines that we're following, and there's different sort of characters involved in it. It's not like the Birmingham Boys and the Matimbers and all these other male lions that come in and out all the time. These guys are literally the only 2 cheetah males that we see in this area, so for us, when we see them, we know exactly who we're talking about every time, and that's the end of that. But unfortunately, they are disappearing into the distance. I can just see them, the back of them, slowly going through that long grass, and so I think that's all we're going to have it from them this morning, which is a little bit unfortunate, but still really, really exciting that we got to see them. Isn't that nice, VM? Very nice. Would have been nice if they were going the opposite direction, because that means we would have been able to follow them from this boundary, but at this stage, that's not the case. Maybe, you never know. Maybe they're going to turn back. It does happen. I've seen these 2 Cheetah Brothers walking straight like this, and then they'll turn back and come towards where we are. Now, actually, there's a big stump there. It's going to be very, very far, and I don't think you'll see much, but there's a stump that's in the long grass, and they always, always, always mark their territory. There we go. You can see them at the base of the stump. They go up and they urinate on that stump every single time in all the years that I've seen them. So from 2011, that's been one of their places that they have been scent marking. So You can see the other one is sniffing around there and just checking if there's any sign of scent of anybody else, and then just reaffirming their sort of territorial marking. So you'll find it'll turn around and he'll probably spray his urine. He's now smelling where his brother was urinating as well. But isn't that amazing? They are the most beautiful cat, and in this morning light it is just absolutely spectacular. Well, at least they've slowed down a bit and allowed us to get one last view of them in that morning light. There we go, lots of scent marking, you can see lots of spraying. And look at how long that tail is, isn't it amazing? It's almost the same length as the cheetah's body, and that's what helps when they go at those incredible speeds, to balance them and to make sure that they are able to be as agile as they are. Now, as they sort of slink off into the distance, we're going to carry on and see what else we can find. And while we do that, let's go across to Byron and see what he's been up to on his walk.
That is fantastic, Tristan, that you got to see those cheetah. I'm very, very jealous. Always wonderful to see those cheetah males around. We're still appreciating this beautiful sunrise and the sun coming through the long grass, especially with all this moisture around at the moment. It really is spectacular. You get the glint of all the water on the grass, and it looks so beautiful. Now, I've got to a little spot over here that I can see there's been a lot of activity. It's all elephant that have moved through here. Now, there are a lot of little tracks where they've actually dug up a little bit and slid down this almost like a small embankment, I suppose, the big footprints, and they've walked through the bush. Now I can hear elephant. Every now and then I hear a trumpet of elephant in the distance. They're not that close to us, unfortunately. It would have been nice to go and look for them, but it sounds like they might perhaps be on the other side of the drainage line to our right or to our east. So I think they've all moved off in that direction, but it's interesting to see how they flatten the grass. So we're constantly looking around for signs of little animals and larger animals, but it's very easy to see when elephant has obviously moved through. And as I was saying earlier, with the moisture and the long grass, it's easy to see if animals have moved through an area, and you can see how they've trampled this section too. And also with the moisture at the moment on the long grass, I'd like to show you. And while I'm walking, if I walk up here and see if you can just see, as I walk, I'm disturbing a lot of the moisture and disturbing the grass, so you can actually see a clear path of where I'm going through. And it's the same with an animal. If an animal walked through here, it would be a little bit easier. And I'm actually going to walk a few more meters and just go back and then have a look to see if I can see the difference. So I'll go back the same way I came through, and I should be able to see, yeah, more or less. I've disturbed a lot of the moisture on the grass, so it doesn't glint in the sun like the grass on the left or right. So you should be able to see the pathway a lot clearer. Those are little tricks for tracking when you are trying to follow animals through the bush. That's quite nice. Yeah, there we go. And now we've seen a few little tracks. I saw some white-tailed mongoose tracks along the road earlier. Looked like it was running across the road, and those we know are nocturnal. They come out, they move around at night looking for food. And those white-tailed mongoose, if I do find another fresh track, I'll try and show you. It's a small little track about that long, but you can see the long claws or the nails of those mongoose very, very easily. So it's easy to identify the track, especially when they're running. Because what happens is when these little creatures run, as they run through the sand, their long claws dig in and they kick up. So you'll see the mark of those claws very, very easily, and they'll just kick up the sand. So you would be able to see those nails. Similar with the hyena. In the long sand, or in the deep sand or the thick sand, you'll see those long claws sticking out, and you'll be able to pick up the tips of the claws of the hyena in the sand, which makes it easy to identify the track too. I think, why don't we carry on? We're approaching Philemon's Dip. hang on a second, I can hear oxpeckers calling. Now we know oxpeckers are a good sign that there's potentially something around. So I'm just going to have a good look here. The other bird that I can hear constantly at the moment while we're walking is the little quail. So these little curricane quails, or curricane, all depends how you pronounce it. But I'd love to try and flush a little quail out to the long grass and see if we can't get a glimpse of it. But they've got that booming, quite a deep booming sound, that woo, woo. Very interesting sound. Michael, you asked, what birds do we have around here that we get throughout the year? Now, there are many different species, Michael. Many different species of birds. Just off the top of my head, the ones that you might hear and see quite often on camera with us. So the Cape turtle dove, for example, all the doves, they're year-round residents. You see them all the time. What else? There's so many different species. So the little bee eaters, they year-round. They don't migrate. Chin spot batis, some of the lark species, all the rufous naped larks. But so many. I mean, the list is huge. Probably close to 180 to 200 birds just in this little area that we are in, that are here throughout the year. So there are a lot of birds that are year-round residents. I'm going to continue. Let's see if we can't find one of those quails, perhaps, or maybe those elephant that we heard calling earlier. Let's head over to Taylor, see where she is and what she's up to.
Isn't that fantastic that you had such a brilliant cheetah sighting with Tristan? Very, very nice way. We'll keep the cat streak up and going. We are on Leadwood at the moment. I'm actually just coming to drive around and see what I can find down here. And something that I did spot earlier were some giraffe tracks turning up and into Leadwood. So maybe we're going to see a giraffe in a minute. And then if we don't come right here, I think I'm going to go back towards the northwestern corner and see if I can find the zebra herd again. I think the reason why we hadn't picked up on them after the loop that we did was just because they were moving through one of those massive blocks, I think between sort of Aubrey's and Sandy Patch. And well, we've driven through there a number of times, and you remember what a nightmare it is. We've had Tingana in there, Mvula goes in there a lot, the lions have been in there. It is very, very thick. So that's actually what would make my day today, is if we can go and see the McCurdy-Hurdy, whether it is them or if it's the imposters. We'll have to try and find out. And also have a good look and see if any of those zebra are potentially our missing zebra who was savaged by a lion or lions. We also don't know how many sadly attacked it. But let's keep going. Let's just check here. This is such a nice spot. What just ran across the road like that? Did you see that, Craig? I don't know. I think it could have been a steenbok or a common duiker. Let's just drive slowly through. There's lots of tambuti thickets here, which is actually really nice for providing cover for animals. You see, and then also it's quite bare underneath the tambuti with all the tannins that are being released into the soil, so you can actually see what's going on around here. See, there's a tambuti thicket. I can't see anything now. Now, Bobby, speaking of zebra, you were wondering if it's unusual to have 2 zebra attacks and none of them being killed. You know, I think that whole coincidence of seeing 2 different zebra with injury, it was literally just a coincidence. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen something like that before. It's not common. I suppose it's also just being at a particular place at that time. Maybe it happens more often than we think, but we definitely don't see it very often. But the animals fight back. Remember, summer, and I keep saying it over and over, summer is hard for the predators. They really do struggle. When they are fit and healthy, the buffalo, the zebra, the kudu, you name it, they are not an easy thing for a lion to take down. Obviously, it depends on a number of different things, how many lions, or, you know, particularly in that pride, if we're talking about lions. Or, but I've watched buffalo stare down lions and charge them and say, you come for me and you're going to get yourself into a bit of trouble. And they do. They try and they get horned and thrown up into the air, then they get an injury, then the lion dies. So zebra is the same thing. If you've ever seen two stallions fighting, my goodness, that is something quite impressive. They are savage. They kick, they buck, they bite, and if a lion is holding on, and I've never seen it before, but I have seen footage of zebras escaping, and they run quickly too. It's quite easy if a zebra is at full pelt and say it's just one lioness that's made contact. It's very easy for that zebra to buck and carry on performing and lose that lion, and I think that's exactly what happened. Possibly it was just that one lioness that made the initial run for it and grabbed the zebra and was holding on from the side, and this thing just said, I'm going to keep going, and kept on galloping away, kicking, bucking, and eventually it obviously fell off, and I think with the claws being so sharp actually just ripped the skin right off, which is what we were left with. But I mean, we can just speculate, but I have seen that often, lions either on the back of a zebra or holding on the side and then getting kicked off and getting hurt. I've been kicked by many horses, big horses. Now if you've ever seen ponies kick, I don't know, when they double barrel, they like to do sort of two double barrels, if you will. So they don't just sort of kick once, it's sort of kick, 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 you know, just to make sure whatever is holding on to their hindquarters becomes completely detached. Yeah, you got to give credit to the herbivores out here in the summer months. It's good. I love it. The bush is so fair. It's not unfair. Droughts, of course, make it a little bit unfair because but they're natural. Again, it's not us interfering out here. Often have droughts every couple of years or so, every 7 years, I think it is out here. It seems to be the pattern. But we're going to keep searching. It's not much luck down this way, so I think we're going to start heading back northwest. But let's go back across and walk around with Byron for a little bit and see if he's got anything interesting to show you.
So Taylor, while you head back this way, I've been walking around trying to see if we can't find any interesting little tracks, and I found a partial little track. And have a look here. Now, I'm going to circle it with the stick just over there. See that? Now, there is the back pad of the track. And there's 1, 2, 3 toes. These tracks have been driven over, so I can tell that they're not fresh, probably from last night. So, can you guess what little track this is? The track's about that size. And very, very clear. 1, 2 toes. This toe, the third toe, has been rubbed out in the back pad over there. So, take a guess. Hazard a guess. I'll give you a clue. It does bend in at the back of the track. And there's a little lobe or 2 lobes at the back of the track. And it's walking in that direction. So take a guess and let me know if you recognize that track, and I'll reveal what it is shortly. And while I'm walking around, I've found my favorite grass, and especially in this light, it is beautiful, and I'm going to show you. Let me come off the road here a bit. Have a look at this. And look at the beautiful moisture caught in the inflorescence of this grass. A few flies around. And look at that coloration, that pinkish, reddish or purple color. And this is the Natal redtop, Melanus repens. Natal redtop, beautiful, beautiful grass, and one of my favorite grasses. It's so nice to see them, especially now in this light, with all this, with all the moisture glistening in the sunlight. Really, really nice. Really, really nice. Lovely to see. And that's what I love about these early morning bush walks, especially this time of year when you start moving into winter, the cooler mornings, you start getting a bit of moisture on the grass, and it is beautiful, really, really stunning. don't forget, let me know if you recognize that track that I saw, and I'll tell you what it is. I'm just having a look around. At the moment, all I can really hear around me are the monotonous larks. They are not stopping. They're just calling constantly. And it is amazing how these birds constantly call to find each other. Just heard an oxpecker again behind us. A few flies around. Oh dear. Let us continue. Let's see what else we can find. I'm really enjoying walking along these roads at the moment because there's so many tracks of animals, and who knows, we might even find tracks of those honey badger that we saw yesterday or last night. Because the grass is so long, the animals choose to come onto the pathways, the roads, and it's a lot easier for them to move around, so it's easier for us to find tracks. Having said that, though, you would think it would be a bit easier for us to find leopard tracks and find the leopards. Now, I know Taylor was chatting about it this morning, and not having seen Karula and her two sub-adults now, I suppose they're no longer cubs, and I wonder how they are doing and where they are. The thing is, at the moment, with the grass being so long, and I've seen this many times before, with leopards when they are hunting, if they are hunting through in the long grass, what happens is, if they make a kill, because the grass is so long at the moment and there's a lot of moisture, it helps mask the scent of the kill. So there's often not really a case or need for them to hoist that kill up into a tree, because they can hide it in the thick bush and in the long grass. So hyena and that won't be able to pick up on the scent, and it'll be easier for the leopards to hide, feed on the kill, and then move off again. So that's why it can make it quite difficult to find them at times, especially this time of year when the bush is so thick and so lush. But you never know. We will definitely keep an eye out, and I mean, Tristan was lucky yesterday with leopards, so they are around. We just need to work a little bit harder and try and find them. I'm going to continue searching for tracks of interesting animals. Hang on, there's one I'd like to show you. Here's another little track, not so little in fact. Just have a look at this beautiful track. I'm going to circle it again. There's a nice big track. I'm sure you can all recognize that. That's a really large lion track that's walked along here. And the very clear 3 lobes at the back, 1, 2, 3, and then the 4 toes walk in this direction. Now, I think this is possibly the track that I had yesterday morning of that male lion that walked through Djuma, and it did come along this road, and I do think this is from yesterday morning early. With there not being a lot of wind around at the moment, there was a bit of drizzle yesterday, but that was earlier in the morning, and I think that these tracks aren't disturbed as much, so they may appear to look a little bit fresher than they actually are, but this track is definitely, I'm sure, the track that we had yesterday morning already. So but that is a nice male lion track, and don't forget, I still want an answer of what that track was that we saw just behind me walking along the road. But while I do that, let's carry on. Let's head back to Taylor, get an update where she is, what she's up to, and if she's found any interesting birds perhaps.
I thought what we would do, actually, Byron, you've
Welcome back. Taylor, I think Taylor unfortunately just lost some signal there quickly, but that's okay. There's always something to show you on walk. Now here is something, or sign of more animals that we are looking for. Some big elephant. You can see their dung over here. Now, I was hoping to see some dung beetles, but for the moment, you'll probably see a lot less dung beetles because the change in climate, we're starting to move into winter. So we're not seeing as many dung beetles around. I'm just having a look, opening the dung. But what I always find fascinating, let me show you this. Oh, there's a little grasshopper. Look at that. That tiny little grasshopper sitting on the dung. Beautiful. It's amazing how many little species of grasshoppers there are around. And what I wanted to show you too is, if I stand up, sorry Dave, I'll make it a bit easier. The coarse plant material within the elephant dung. Now I know a lot of you have seen this before, but it's always fascinating to see how coarse the elephant dung is. And have a look. You can see little sticks and twigs that they've fed on. So little bits of branches, a lot of grass. There's another little branch. You see, the digestive system is not very good. They only absorb about 20 to 30% of the food that they eat and the nutrients that they feed on, and a lot of it passes through them very, very quickly. So not an efficient digestive system, not like a ruminant, which we know they break down their food very, very well. But that is why the elephant constantly need to feed, so that they can get the nutrients that they need from all their food. So, but it is nice or interesting to see this dung, this very coarse dung, plant material. And because of all the moisture around, this appears to be fresher than it actually is. This is not fresh dung. This would be at least 2-3 days old, I would say. Put that back. Sorry, Dave, just come here a second. So that's you can see that dung also formed a bit of a hard crust on the outside, so it's at least 3 days old. But we have had some rain, and what happens is once that crust forms around the dung, it holds a lot of the moisture, and that's often why you get so many insects feeding on that dung, because there's a lot of moisture and a lot of nutrients still within that dung. Let's have a look. I think our dear friend Herbert has spotted something. Let's have a look here. Thank you, Herbert. Oh, yes, Herbert. Let's see here. Oh, not that clear. Over here, can you see these tracks going down this way? Now, let me see. Herbert, I think this is possibly a porcupine. Hey? Look at that. That's interesting. Now, this is wonderful porcupine track. I'm going to show you. There's actually a lovely story here, because this porcupine. Now, have a close look. If you can see, there's a bit of a pad over there. You can see another section of the pad at the back. And then there are the toes. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another little toe there. It walked along here. So this was probably during the course of the evening. And because there's still a lot of moisture around on these tracks, and they're on top of the vehicle tracks. Now have a look over here. This is very interesting. Now the porcupine have walked along. It's walked along here, and if you have a look, there are actually little drag marks in the sand. Now that will be from the quills. While they are walking, they are dragging their quills. Occasionally you'll see the back quills being dragged through the sand. So you can see these little squiggles in the sand, and those are the quills. It's walked over this little log, and you can see there's still a bit of moisture here. Probably that the moisture that's been collected on the quills from the long grass. I mean, we did have a bit of rain yesterday, so the grass was still pretty wet. But isn't that fascinating? So it's easy, even if you can't see the track clearly, look around, see what else is around, and you might find other little signs just like this, with the quills being dragged in the sand. Now let us continue. I think Taylor's got some signal back, but wasn't that fantastic to see that little track? Let's head over to Taylor, get an update, and we'll see what else we can find.